if I make my YouTube video an NFT, I now have a built-in monetization method, regardless of what YouTube or Twitter or anybody has to say about it. I have a direct communication with my collectors, right? So if you collect my video, I now have access to like that connection between you outside of the confines of a YouTube or a Twitter, right? Like if YouTube shuts down, I lose all of my subscribers, but the blockchain is never going to shut down, right? So that data is now publicly available. And then it was just like, those were the building blocks that you needed. And then it was just a question of like, how do you build an all new creator platform using this like technology that where the user experience right now is trash, right? And I think over the last few years, we've seen a lot of that. There's a company I'm doing some consulting for right now called Zora that basically is like exploring that world, like creating a YouTube alternative that is built on the blockchain where monetization is not just like ad driven, but it's also like I'm able to go and like collect somebody's video and like maybe there's only I got one of 500 editions of this video in the same way that I'm able to collect like a trading card, right? And for my favorite creators, that's really cool because if that creator, you know, becomes very, very popular, I could say, oh, I got a 1 of 500 edition of Mr. Beast's first video or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And if that doesn't happen, it's just like, you know, I got to support a creator directly without fees going to one of these big corporations that like, I don't want them to have my money anyway.
So what I'm hearing is I need to put my podcast videos on this Zora platform.
Yeah. Like, I mean, again, like the UX still needs to catch up. Like, do a lot of people have crypto wallets so that they can collect? No. Do people even understand what I'm talking about right now? And no, right? But Zora right now, one of the projects that we're working on is you can collect without having a crypto wallet, right? Like you sign up with your email, you collect, everything happens on the back end. And then once you understand, oh, wait, like I have an NFT of this video, you can claim your wallet and like get full control of it. And, you know, now all of those opportunities are unlocked for you. But if you just want to support a creator and watch the video, you could also do that.
So if I'm an individual and I buy a NFT of the video, do then the views that are generated, that the people that are just watching, do I get a slice of the earnings of that? Is that how that works?
If the creator sets it up that way, yes. So by default, no. By default, you're just getting a collectible version of that video. You can assume, like, you can consider it like I am tipping the creator. He is giving me an autograph in return. And if this creator becomes famous in the future, like I could sell that autograph later, right? But you could also set it up where, you know, I am tipping the creator or I am investing in this creator's video. This creator then posts it on YouTube. He sets it up on the back end so that the YouTube ad revenue is automatically split between all of the collectors. And then I receive a portion of the proceeds. Like that's possible today. But again, very few people are doing it given the UX and like the understanding of what's happening there. There's also like legal implications of like, okay, is this considered a security? And am I actually allowed to do that? But it's possible. And I think we're getting closer and closer to a user experience that is like widely applicable. There are musicians that I've met, you know, Flume?
Flume, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. So there's like a Flume song that is collectible on Zora right now. And like, I think people who collected one of the first like 500 editions of it, I think it was $10 a piece that they collected it for. And you can now sell that song for like $150, like that version of it. But from the creator's perspective, it's just like if Drake dropped an NFT of like God's Plan right now, I would collect the hell out of that for no other reason than like I'm not speculating on it. I just want, in the same way that I want merch, I want that, right? So that's sort of like the world that I'm playing in right now. And it goes back to this conversation previously of like, when you have an abundance of media on the internet, nothing is valuable unless it is handmade. So how do you like verify that something is handmade or like that there's provenance there that I want to pay for this versus that? And I think like this is the world where like all of that starts to make sense, where, you know, there's a lot of podcasts in the world. There's a lot of, you know, conversations happening. But if I like want to support Zain, I can collect the Zain Battla podcast. And there's a lot of, you know, opportunity that you can create on top of that.
It seems that there's a lot of legitimacy behind it with the blockchain involved, with, you know, if I buy a NFT, then there's legitimacy saying that I own this NFT. I think the toughest part of the buy-in, especially for the older crowd, is that because it's not something physical or tangible I can hold in my hand. Because if I start selling t-shirts tomorrow and someone buys a t-shirt for however much, right? They can say, hey, I physically have this t-shirt, I can wear it. But if they buy a NFT of the podcast, then they say, what value does this bring to me other than this online source saying that, hey, I own this 1 out of 500 copy of the podcast.
And that's why I think it becomes a lot like there's a generational shift. Like I don't think the 40 and up crowd is really going to buy into this narrative outside of like, oh, I can make some money off of it. Like it's stupid, but let me do it. But it's the kids who like are growing up on Roblox, are growing up on Fortnite, have like a deep understanding of like the digital world is just as valuable as the physical world as far as like the time that we're spending on it. Like you can imagine a world where like I collect an edition of the Zain Battla podcast. I'm like really going out here now, but like there's a Roblox room where like you're doing like a live podcast and people are pulling up in Roblox to watch your podcast, but you can only get in if you collected an edition before, right? Like because that's all on the blockchain, like it's all interoperable. I could use that across all of these platforms, all of these games, all of these worlds, right? That's a really like you could say like gamey or childish example, but it's like my point is that as the digital world becomes more and more legitimate and we have all of these people who have grown up thinking it is legitimate, there's no reason that like me collecting an edition of your podcast is any less cool and like any less of a flex than me buying a t-shirt.